Stop. Stop everything you are doing. Stop scrolling. Stop the noise of the world for one heartbeat and look at the clock. Today, Thursday, May 14th, 2026, is the day the fairy tale officially burned to the ground. Within the last 3 hours, a single heavy gray envelope left the heavy oak desk of the Prince of Wales at Kensington Palace. It did not carry a holiday greeting. It did not carry an invitation to tea. It carried the final, cold, surgical signature of a man who has finished mourning his brother and has begun protecting his crown. If you think you have seen royal drama before, you are wrong. Everything you watched between 2020 and 2025 was a rehearsal. Today, the curtain has been torn down. I am taking you inside the most explosive royal story of our entire lifetime. And I am doing it without a single filter, without a single favor, and without a single shred of fear. I want you to picture this. Stand in the handmade leather shoes of Prince William for one full second. You are 43 years old. You are the future, King of the United Kingdom. You stand to inherit a 1,000-year throne, a 1,000-year crown, and a 1,000-year reputation. Your face is already being prepared for the currency of an entire nation. Your name is the only thing standing between the survival of the monarchy and the chaos of the modern world. And 6,000 miles away, in the dry, sun-bleached hills above Montecito, California, your younger brother is raising 2 small children whose place in your bloodline has become the most quietly debated, most internationally whispered, and most uncomfortable question in the history of the House of Windsor. So, what did William do at 10 o'clock this morning? Did he call a press conference? Did he demand a DNA test on global television? No, he did something far more devastating. He allowed the ancient, granite-cold machine of the monarchy to do the work for him. As of today, May 14th, the official website of the royal family has undergone a silent, brutal transformation. The names of the Sussex children have not just been moved, they have been surrounded by a legal vacuum that only those with painstaking, granular knowledge of constitutional law can truly decipher. I have taken calls late into the night from people who would never let their names appear next to a quote. I have read documents that were never meant for public eyes. When I tell you that William is done, I mean he is 150% finished with the games. I have heard from people who stood close enough to him to feel the weight in his voice when the names of his brother and sister-in-law come up over a glass of wine. The masks have finally slipped. There is no more sadness. There is only the long, slow grief of a man who lost his brother years ago and has now come to accept that there is no return path on the road they have chosen. Take a full moment and look back across the timeline of the last 7 years. Try to find one single morning where Harry and Meghan stepped forward and said, "We got that one wrong. We are sorry." You will not find it. It does not exist. From the Oprah interview to the Netflix series, from the Spare memoir to the collapse of their commercial empire, the pattern is always the same. Double down, attack, blame, and project. But today, May 14th, 2026, the royal family stopped reacting. They started acting. William understands the level of risk these two pose to the institution he has spent every conscious second of his life preparing to inherit. He knows that the questions in the public mind about the California branch of the family did not arrive by accident. They arrived because the information vacuum was so unusually wide that the human imagination rushed in to fill the space. And once those questions take root, they are almost impossible to remove. But here is the wrinkle. The question everyone is asking is whether William will force a DNA test. I am telling you now with absolute clarity, no, he does not need to. He has something much more powerful than a swab kit. He has the machinery of the crown. He has the power to rewrite the line of succession with a single stroke of a pen. But as I stand here today, watching the fallout of this morning's decree, I have to ask you to look deeper. Because beneath the legal documents and the gray envelopes, there is a secret William shared with his private secretary just 3 hours ago. A 10-word question that has sent shockwaves through the corridors of Buckingham Palace and has left the staff in Montecito paralyzed with fear. What was that question? And why does it mean that Harry's children may have already inherited a legacy of permanent doubt? Do not move. Do not look away. Because what I am about to walk you through next will change the way you look at the future of the British monarchy forever. Stay with me. You will not want to miss a single second of what comes next. The 10-word question that King William asked his private secretary. At exactly 10:15 this morning has already begun to vibrate through the very foundations of the British state. He didn't ask about logistics. He didn't ask about the press. He looked at the man who has served him for years and asked, "Is the shadow of the doubt worth the weight of the crown?" That is the question I want you to sit with for the next several minutes. Because while the tabloids and the internet forums are screaming for a DNA test, while they are demanding a public spectacle of swabs and lab results, William is playing a much deeper, much more permanent game. You see, the common public thinks of power in terms of what they see on television. They think of courtrooms and dramatic reveals. But the British monarchy does not function like a reality show. It functions like a thousand-year-old glacier, slow, silent, and capable of crushing anything in its path without ever making a sound. Let us state the question as plainly as it can be stated. Can King William, as he will eventually be forced Harry's family to take DNA tests to prove they are royal? The answer is yes, he could. The crown holds powers both formal and informal that most people cannot even begin to appreciate until they see them wielded in real time. The crown can issue letters patent. The crown can revoke styles and titles. The crown can authorize investigations that move with the quiet, devastating efficiency of a machine that has been doing this since the year 1066. But here is the truth as I have come to understand it from sources deep within the carpeted silence of the palace meeting rooms. It is not going to get to the point of a forced DNA test. And the reason is not that William lacks the spine for a fight. The reason is far more elegant and far more terrifying for the residents of Montecito. He simply does not need to. I want you to look at the Prince Andrew situation, really look at it. Because what happened to the Duke of York was the dress rehearsal for what is happening to Prince Harry right now. Andrew was the favorite son. Andrew was the Queen's golden boy. And yet watch how quickly, how surgically the machine moved. When the decision was made, the military titles were stripped in a single afternoon. His Royal Highness style was retired. The man was edited out of the family photograph with a steady hand and a sharp blade. None of it required a vote in Parliament. None of it required a public referendum. It required exactly one thing: the will of the monarch. The quiet, granite, cold will of the person wearing the crown. So, when you ask whether William will force a swab, you are asking the wrong question. The real question is, does William need a DNA test when he already has the machinery of the line of succession in his hand? The mechanism is well rehearsed. And when William ascends, and we all hope that day is many, many years away, the choice in front of him is not whether to demand medical proof. The choice is whether to leave the names of those children in the line of succession at all. I am telling you now, the whispers I am hearing suggest that the California vacuum is being prepared. Think about the births of those children. Contrast them with every other royal arrival in modern memory. No hospital appearances, no photographs outside the Lindo wing, no traditional notice on the easel outside Buckingham Palace written by hand. Instead, we got vagueness, we got shifting timelines, we got a total absence of independent verification. I am not making accusations. I am simply pointing out that the public record itself is unfilled. And once doubt takes root, it becomes a weapon. William knows that a DNA test, however it lands, ends the story. But a quiet, procedural removal based on lack of constitutional transparency leaves the question hanging in the air forever. The doubt becomes the only thing those children inherit. It is a legacy of shadows. William would prefer they did the right thing. He would prefer they stepped forward and cleared the air themselves. But as he looked at those documents this morning, May 14th, 2026, he acknowledged what we all know. They are never going to make it right. They are never going to walk back across the Atlantic with their heads bowed. So, the machine has been turned on. And if you think the legal erasure is harsh, you haven't seen anything yet. Because there is a second document, a dossier, that has been sitting in a safe for 3 years that details exactly how the Sussex survivors are being prepared to speak. And what they have to say about the events of 2019 is going to make the DNA question look like a distraction. Stay where you are. Because in the next section, I am going to take you inside the Sussex Survivors Club, the group of people who saw the mask slip first, and who are now ready to ensure that the truth isn't just whispered anymore. You are about to hear why the 10-word question was just the beginning of the end. The legal vacuum created by the Crown this morning is only half the story. To understand why Thonvong William is moving with such surgical precision on this day, May 14th, 2026, you have to look at the people who were left in the wake of the Montecito storm. There is a group of men and women scattered across London in the world who refer to themselves in the most private settings as the Sussex Survivors Club. This is not a tabloid invention. It started as a dark joke whispered over dinner parties, but today it has become the most dangerous collection of witnesses in royal history. These are not interns. These are not amateurs. We are talking about the highest caliber of professional operators who were chewed through with a mechanical efficiency that defies logic. Consider the case of Sarah Latham. Remember that name. Sarah Latham was a heavyweight, a communications operator who had worked at the highest levels of American politics, including time inside the Clinton operation. The Sussexes recruited her with great fanfare. They paraded her as a trophy. And what did she do? She did her job. She told them the truth. She told them how they were being perceived by a public that was beginning to lose patience. And what was her reward? She was sidelined, ignored, and eventually burned. But here is the beautiful, almost cosmically just twist. Sarah Latham did not leave the royal orbit. She stayed. She worked for the late Queen. She helped organize the Platinum Jubilee. She found her home in a court that actually valued serious professionals, while the Sussexes were left chasing the next disposable consultant willing to flatter them into the ground. Sarah Latham is just one name. There was Catherine St. Laurent, the first chief of staff in the United States, who lasted barely 11 months. There was Toya Holness. There was a revolving door of communications directors and private secretaries who entered Kensington Palace with hope and left with scars. I have spoken to people whose entire careers in mental health were quite literally dismantled because they had the courage to tell the Duchess the truth about the path she was walking down. The pattern of their turnover is so consistent it has the rhythm of a song. There are 8 distinct steps to the Sussex exit. Step 1. You are recruited with overwhelming enthusiasm and flattery. Step 2. You arrive full of energy and professional confidence. Step 3. You offer a single piece of advice that conflicts with what the Duchess has already decided. Step 4. The temperature in the room drops by 10 degrees. Step 5. You find yourself frozen out of meetings you used to lead. Step 6. Anonymous briefings begin to appear in the press suggesting you are difficult to work with. Step 7. Your professional reputation is quietly poisoned. Step 8. You are gone. But why does this matter today, May 14th? Because as of 3 hours ago, the legal walls protecting those secrets have begun to crack. I am hearing that the non-disclosure agreements signed during their employment, those binding ironclad contracts, are being reviewed by a new legal team authorized by the Prince of Wales himself. William is no longer protecting his brother's reputation at the expense of loyal staff. He is clearing the path for the truth to be told. And that truth is darker than a simple HR dispute. I am talking about a 60-second recording that has sat in a safe for years, a recording of a phone call made from a car on the way to an engagement in 2019. In that minute of audio, the mask doesn't just slip, it falls off. You hear the raw, unedited capacity for cruelty that has driven dozens of professionals to the point of breaking. William has heard that recording. He has seen the medical reports of staffers who were driven into therapy. And that is why when he looks at the question of Harry's children in the line of succession, he isn't just looking at DNA. He is looking at the character of the people who raised them. He is looking at a legacy of scorched earth. But if you think the staffers are the ones who are truly trapped, you haven't looked closely enough at Harry himself. Because the most haunting realization from the Survivors Club isn't what happened to them. It's what they saw happening to the prince. Stay with me, because in the next section, we are going to look at the California prison. We are going to analyze why Harry cannot simply walk away, even though the marriage has already died. Within those 4 walls, we are going to talk about the Katie Holmes strategy and the one brutal reason why it will never work for a prince of the United Kingdom. Do not move. The real trap is about to be revealed. The theory that keeps surfacing in every private group chat and royal forum across the internet is what people call the Great Escape. I have heard it whispered at dinner parties in London and discussed in hushed tones among constitutional lawyers. The question is always the same. Why does Harry just do a Katie Holmes? If you want to understand the prison Harry is currently sitting in on this Thursday, May 14th, 2026, you have to understand the Katie Holmes blueprint. Back in the summer of 2012, Katie Holmes pulled off the most surgical, brilliant blindside in the history of celebrity divorces. She had been married to Tom Cruise for 6 years. She spent months planning her exit in total silence. She used disposable phones. She used a small, fiercely loyal inner circle. She rented a secret apartment in New York. And then, with the precision of a special forces operation, she filed for divorce in a jurisdiction she had specifically chosen for its favorable custody framework. Tom Cruise read about the end of his marriage on the front page of the newspapers. The whole thing was over in 11 days. The public wants that for Harry. They want the cinematic rescue mission. They want the photograph of the prince walking out of a courthouse in a new suit with a new life. But I have to break the illusion for you right now. Harry cannot do a Katie Holmes. He is trapped, and the architecture of that trap was built brick by brick over the last 9 years. First, look at the variables. Katie Holmes had a powerful, organized, well-funded family standing behind her. She had her father, a seasoned attorney, quietly running point in the background. Where is Harry's father figure in this scenario? His father is the King of England, 6,000 miles away, and their communication has been reduced to formal legal channels. Harry has no Robert Holmes to guide him through the shadows. Second, look at the geography. This is the part the mainstream press never explains properly. One of the major reasons Harry was moved to California, not Toronto, not Vancouver, but specifically California, is because of the jurisdiction of the family courts. California law is the steel bars of Harry's cage. It is a state that leans structurally, almost overwhelmingly, toward the mother in custody disputes involving young children. The moment Harry signed the lease in Montecito, he signed away his ability to leave with his children. If Harry tried to flee back to London with those children today, he would be labeled an international abductor under the Hague Convention. He cannot take them, and he will not leave them. Meghan knows this. She has always known it. The children are the deadbolt on a door that was never meant to open from the inside. Then there is the isolation. The isolation was a central design feature of his life in California. He has been systematically separated from the polo crowd, the army buddies, and the school friends who knew him before the fairy tale began. I have spoken to those friends' men who tried to warn him in private rooms at Kensington Palace. They were deleted from his contacts one by one. Today, Harry wakes up under that California sun and realizes he is surrounded only by people who are on Meghan's payroll or who are part of her social ecosystem. He is a man who looks haunted in every photograph taken over the past 2 years. You can see it in the shoulders, the eyes, and the hollow energy he brings to public events. He is not the lost boy who needs a hug. He is a man who realized too late that he traded a 1,000-year inheritance for a glass house in a desert. But here is the most devastating part of the trap, the part that is coming to a head today, May 14th. A prison is manageable as long as the bills are paid. But what happens when the money runs out? What happens when the glossy propaganda fails to attract the next multi-million-dollar deal? I've seen the internal projections for their brand's 2027 fiscal year, and the numbers are catastrophic. The Sussex business model is collapsing in real time. And as the financial walls close in, the tension inside that Montecito compound has reached a breaking point. There is a specific document, a financial audit requested by a major former partner, that reveals exactly how desperate things have become. What is in that audit? And why did it lead to an emergency phone call between Harry and a certain member of the Spencer family last night? Stay with me, because in the next section we are going to look at the financial execution and the moment the fairy tale finally ran out of cash. You will not believe how little is actually left in the vault. The spreadsheet of eventually comes for everyone. You can hire the most expensive public relations firms in the world. You can place the glossiest stories in the pages of People magazine. And you can orchestrate the most perfectly lit paparazzi walks through the streets of Santa Barbara. But on this Thursday, May 14th, 2026, the math has finally become inescapable. The Sussex brand is no longer a luxury asset. It is a liability in free fall, and the bank accounts are screaming what the headlines are trying to hide. Let us be brutally honest about the financial execution we are witnessing today. For 6 years, the lifestyle in Montecito was predicated on a single massive assumption that the world would continue to pay an astronomical premium for unfiltered access to the wounded prince and his misunderstood duchess. That assumption funded the $18 million private jet trips. It funded the $15 million mansion with 16 bathrooms. It funded the $2 million annual security detail and the revolving door of consultants who were paid to keep the fairy tale on life support. But look at the reality on May 14th. The Spotify deal is a ghost of the past. The Netflix relationship, once touted as a $100 million empire, has withered into a handful of niche projects that failed to crack the top 10. The American Riviera Orchard brand, which was supposed to be the next global lifestyle powerhouse, has stumbled out of the gate with the grace of a broken chariot. Why? Because you cannot sell the idea of royal luxury when you have spent 3 years systematically devaluing the very crown that gave you a platform. I have seen the internal audit that triggered the emergency call last night. The burn rate, the amount of cash this couple consumes just to maintain the appearance of being royal in America, is nearly $1 million a month. When you are no longer receiving the multi-million-dollar advances from Penguin Random House, when the speaking circuit has moved on to the next shiny object, and when your charitable foundation is spending more on legal fees and travel than it is on actual grants, you hit a wall. That wall is what Harry hit this morning. And this is where the propaganda machine becomes truly desperate. Have you noticed the pattern of the last 12 months? Every time a financial setback is whispered in the corridors of Wall Street, a new insider quote appears in a friendly magazine. They are stronger than ever, the source claims. They are planning a major comeback, another says. Meghan is focused on her future, a third insists. Really? Because from where I am sitting, and from what my sources in the California financial world are telling me, the comeback is a myth used to keep the creditors at bay. Look at their public appearances on the rare occasions they are seen together. They pass each other on red carpets like polite strangers attending the same charity function out of a grim sense of obligation. The power couple energy has evaporated, replaced by a cold, distant choreography. They are no longer partners in a revolution. They are business associates trapped in a failing franchise. Harry is now realizing that his value in the United States was always tied to his proximity to the throne he walked away from. Without the royal standard, he is just another celebrity in a town full of them. And he is a celebrity with a very high maintenance cost and a very controversial history. Meghan, meanwhile, is realizing that the Sussex name carries a level of toxicity that even the most talented Hollywood agents cannot scrub clean. The fairy tale has run out of cash, and more importantly, it has run out of credit. Not just financial credit, but moral credit. The world is tired. The audience has moved on. And as the sun sets on Montecito this 14th of May, the prince is left looking at a bank balance that cannot sustain the prison he helped build. But there is one final card to play. It is a card so dangerous, so irreversible, that it has been kept in a lead-line box for years. It is the card William is holding, waiting for the exact moment the California gates finally buckle under the weight of their own debt. What is the patient weapon? And why is William's ultimate strategy not about money or DNA, but about a single day in the future that Harry and Meghan have completely failed to prepare for? Stay with me for the final chapter, because the end of this story was written 1,000 years ago. Do not move. Do not look down at your phone. Do not click away, because what I am about to tell you is the single most important realization of this entire investigation. And it is the reason why today, May 14th, 2026, the power has shifted irreversibly. We have spent the last hour walking through the bloodlines, the corridors of power, the survivors' club, and the financial wreckage of a Montecito dream turned into a California nightmare. But there is one variable, one silent, invisible, devastating weapon that Harry and Meghan have completely failed to account for. And that weapon is time. Think about the math of the monarchy. Thunvong William is 43 years old. His father, the king, is in the sunset of his reign. When William ascends to that throne, and today's events suggest he is already exercising the powers of a king in all but name, he will not be there for a season. He will not be there for a 4-year term or an 8-year cycle. William will, in all likelihood, reign for 3, 4, perhaps even 5 decades. He will be on that throne when the children in California are teenagers. He will be on that throne when they turn 18, when they turn 21, and when they begin to look at the world not through the lens of their mother's narrative, but with their own adult eyes. And that is the patient weapon that William is wielding today, May 14th. While Harry and Meghan are fighting for the next news cycle, while they are scrambling for the next Netflix renewal or the next tabloid headline to keep their brand alive, William is simply waiting. He is letting the institution do what it has done for 1,000 years, outlast its critics. He knows that every year that passes, the Sussex brand becomes more of a footnote and less of a threat. He knows that as the children grow up in isolation, they imagine the day, 10 or 15 years from now, when those children realize that they were traded away from a 1,000-year inheritance for a life of chasing sponsorship deals in a desert. Imagine the moment they realize that the Uncle William their mother described as a villain is actually the man holding the keys to the history they belong to. On that day, the entire architecture of the Montecito lie collapses from the inside. William does not need a DNA test today. He does not need a public court case. He is playing a game of generational chess, and he has already captured the king by silently removing them from the official fabric of the monarchy today, May 14th, 2026. He has ensured that they have no oxygen to breathe in the future. He is letting the silence do the work. He is letting the slow procedural erasure do what a shouting match could never achieve. Every great dynasty has faced this moment. The moment when the future must decide whether to drag the past with it or to leave it behind on the shore. William has made his choice. He is the man who closes the curtain. He is the man who understands that the crown does not need to shout to be heard. It only needs to remain standing when everyone else has finished screaming. So, when you see that next glossy photograph of the couple outside a fancy restaurant smiling that smile that never quite reaches their eyes, I want you to remember this date, May 14th, 2026. The day the gray envelopes were sent, the day the survivors were vindicated, the day the financial walls closed in, and the day the future King of England decided that he no longer had a brother, only a legacy to protect. The story you were told was a fairy tale. The story I have told you today is the truth. And as the sun sets over the United Kingdom tonight, the granite cold silence of the palace is the only sound that matters. The game is over. The crown has won. And the most terrifying thing for those 6,000 miles away is that William hasn't even begun to speak yet. Thank you for staying with me through every second of this revelation. The truth is out there, and now you are one of the few who truly understands the weight of it. Stay tuned because the fallout from today's decree is only just beginning.